I just need y'all to know that I have suffered. I have spent this week suffering through many a technical difficulty, and the fact that you guys are seeing this vlog is a testament that there is a higher power. So, shout out to whoever that is. Enjoy. What is up, booktube? It is Monty, and I've already done half of my face routine because I started this and I wasn't sure if I was in the frame properly, and then I found out the video was upside down. So we're onto the serum part, but I decided that I wanted to try and get my reading groove back because I've definitely not been reading since I've been back from California the way that I would like to be reading, the way that I deserve to be reading. And so we're gonna fix that. I started was the Bad Muslim discount, which I'm actually enjoying, although it is weird because it is dual perspective. I want to say our protagonists are Anwar and Sufwa, although Sufwa had like a name change because it was part of the story. So it's interesting so far. Where I left off, I think I'm also like 55% of the way through that one. It looked like things were about to culminate, maybe not go so hot for our protagonists, but it's, like I said, it's really interesting when I'm actually discussing the books in the rest of this reading vlog. I'll talk about it more in depth. But like I said, I want to get back into this mojo. I'm out of work for a couple of days. I'm actually out of work for a pretty extended period of time because, again, I was supposed to be in California until August, and now we're like at the tail end of July. So we might just do these weekly reading vlogs until I go back to work. I have all of this free time, and so I can't promise that these vlogs will be exciting, but y'all at this point should know my reading vlogs are light. So we are starting this Sunday night. I'm not going to be doing any reading tonight. All of my reading will be happening from Monday to Saturday, which is that 7 days? I don't know, but I will be editing this as I go, so hopefully that means I will be able to upload this on Sunday, which is not my usual upload day, but that's what we might do, just so I can start the next reading vlog that day and just have it. That's how it'll be. That's my goal. I also plan on doing a couple of reading sprints, so those will obviously happen before this vlog goes up. So if you see those, that means I was successful, and if you don't see those, then this portion of the clip will probably be taken out. So that's a thing that I have. I think that's everything that I have to say for this beginning clip. Hey, hello everyone. So let's update. So I read a couple chapters. I listened to like another 20% of The Bad Muslim Discount by Syed M. Masood, and I am loving this book, which I think is a little different for me because, like Jade Legacy, it's also doing this thing where we're just skipping through time. Not to the same extent that Jade Legacy did. We're not skipping decades. It's, a couple days here and there, but it's working for me. It's working. It tells the story of Anwar, who was born in Pakistan, but whose parents came to America when he was, I want to say 10 or so. So we have him, and then we have the other perspective of Safwa, who was born in Iraq and who had to leave because, the Americans. And so I think she also wound up in Pakistan, maybe Afghanistan, maybe both. I know she was in both countries. I don't know which one she ultimately left from, but she fled those countries, again, because, the Americans, and wound up, they're both in San Francisco at the point in the story where I am, and it's just, their life. Safwa has been promised to this man who was low-key abusive, but, I don't want to say but this man, I'm just waiting for him to, get his comeuppance. Where I'm at in the story, she's about to frame this man for being a terrorist, which I can't fault her for because he is abusive. So,
And I don't know what else she's supposed to do, because she did come to the country illegally, so she can't, you know, I don't know. Like, I understand, like, the rock and the hard place she is in. And then Anvar's storyline has him and his brother is about to marry the man who he spent his entire college years in love with, until she became, you know, a little bit more devout than he was. And so she was like, yeah, this just isn't gonna work out anymore. We can't just be casually fucking like that. And they broke it off. They may be about to reconnect. I don't know what's going on here. It's so good. It is a good book here. And I'm just loving every second of it, which again, I think is a little strange, because it does have that quality where it's like, it is completely linear. Like, well, yeah, it's completely linear. It is. I had to think for a moment. But again, like, we do have like these passages of time. Maybe I'm just growing as a reader, and that's just something that I don't care about as much. Or maybe when it's actually done well, I don't care. Like, and I think that this is doing it well. I think Jade Legacy did it well. I don't think this is gonna do the thing that in Jade Legacy, where eventually, fondly, the way that she wrapped it all up was just, it was a sight to behold. Just because this isn't that kind of story, I don't think that's going to happen here. But I am still very much enjoying the narrative that is being crafted, and I'm having a good time. I am enjoying it. At this point in this story, I would recommend. And when I do some reading, I'll check back in. I finished The Bad Muslim Discount by Syed Masood last night, and I had a great time. Now, after I finished and I was reading some reviews on Goodreads, there were some comments from Muslim readers who felt that the book was not great Muslim representation. I personally am not a Muslim. I'm not going to comment on the representation. That is what it is. I will say that the book, the last half of the book, is a lot messier than the first half of the book. The first half of the book, I spent a lot of time wondering how Anvar and Azza were going to connect, how they were going to relate to one another, like what their stories, like when they were going to come together. Because the first half of the book spends a lot of time, like I said, jumping through time, because we meet Anvar when he's like 10, and then we see him in high school for a second, we see him in college for a second, and we check into his adult life for the rest of the book. How their lives eventually intersect, and the mess that follows them connecting was, like I said, it was a big ball of mess. But y'all know that's my personal brand. I personally love to see it, and so for me, I thought that it worked. I thought that some of the discussions of the religion was actually a little beautiful, it was a little moving at times. I felt that Syed Masood's writing was at times more profound than I expected going in. I don't expect profoundness from anybody. I don't expect to go into any book ever and find myself moved or wanting to highlight passages. But I do think that Mr. Masood was a talented writer. I think that he is a very gifted author. And so for me, like, it was a 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. I personally don't know who I would recommend it to, because like I said, like the first half and the second half, while connected to one another and while everything is coherent and cohesive, it's just like, to actually explain the story, I would have to spoil so much of what happens, and so much of what happens is what made the book, I think, worth recommending. So make of that horrible situation, like the horrible little discussion, what you will. But like I said, I had a good time. 5 out of 5 stars.
Okay, so technically I lied. I said earlier in the clip that you guys just watched that I was gonna try and read Burn for Burn or You've Reached Sam, because I finished The Bad Muslim Discount, and I didn't do that. I did go to the gym, which is why we are here right now. I just finished washing my face. But I did not read those. I read, is that right? A Crown of Gilded Horns by Amanda Joy. It is the sequel to A River of Royal Blood, which I read in 2019. Technically, full disclosure here, Penguin did send me the ARC via NetGalley, of this book, but I am reading it from the library. I got the audio, which is what I was listening to while I was just at the gym. This is much later. It's like almost 10 o'clock now. I did not go to the gym this morning. But, so yeah, I was listening to that. And I'm obviously not going to get too much into it because it is, like I said, a sequel to a book that I've read, and I don't want to spoil anything. But this one, I thought we were going to follow Isidore in this one. I don't know why I thought that. I feel like that was something I saw on Twitter years ago at this point. But so far, we are still following Eva, following the events of A River of Royal Blood, which, if you read, then you know how that ends. You know, revelations were made because, you know, it's a series. There was a little cliffhangery moment. The chapter that I left off of in this book, we were back with Bacchus, and I'm excited for that because, you know, love me some Bacchus. For people who are always, I feel like there's always somebody who is asking for books with like Black Fae. This isn't a Black Fae book necessarily. This is set in a, you know, fantastical African setting. I think it is West African inspired. I don't remember, so don't hold me to that. But we are in a fantastical Africa. Everybody's black. There's all kinds of creatures that go bump in the night here. We have like there's vampires and werewolves and these chimeras. So like all kinds of things, but there are also fae, and everybody is blackety black, living on Blackety Lane. So if you're one of those people who want some black fae, they do exist here. Like I said, it's not a fae story. It's not, you know, Cruel Prince and Akamath, one of those Margaret Rogerson books. It's not one of those, but there are black fae characters that exist in this reality. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm having a wonderful time. I'm thinking that this one is it's not picking up right where the last one left off, but it's picking up soon enough after that, like, it doesn't feel like I'm, you know, too much is happening, that I've missed out on too much. I did not reread A River of Royal Blood before I jumped back into this one, which is always, you know, 50-50. 50-50 is gonna work out or not. So far, I feel like it's working out. Are there things that I have forgotten? Obviously, I read this 2 years ago, but I think that so far Amanda Joy is doing a really great job of, you know, filling me in without it feeling like recapping everything. It feels very organic, which I appreciate. What I really liked about A River of Royal Blood when it came out, and it was coming out, I mean, now there's obviously been I don't want to say an explosion, but there's more, you know, African-inspired fantasy in the young adult genre. But what I think that A River of Royal Blood did really well is talk about colonization with, you know, black characters being the colonizers. It was really interesting because, again, everybody's blackety black. And so when you had this colonizing happening, I thought that was really interesting. And so far, that still is going to be the central conflict of the sequel, and I'm enjoying that. What is up? So I am 60 or so % into A Queen of Gilded Horns. We're getting the title correct today. I'll leave a link up in the cards to the reading sprints that I did, just because some of this information is going to be a little redundant if you watch the sprints, and I don't want to do that to the people. Make sure to check back there for like full real-time reactions and things. But overall, I'm enjoying where this is going. I am enjoying the way that this sequel is happening. I said in the sprints that I don't think I can like quite fairly judge you know, continuations in series after reading Jade Legacy, because Fonda Lee just continued to top herself. Although, what was it? A Chorus Rises by Bethany Morrow. Brittany Morris is on my mind because we were talking about her on Zoom the other day. But A Chorus Rises by Bethany Morrow was also really well done in my opinion. But that's more of a companion that tackles some of the things of the first book. It was weird, but that was also really well done. And here, it's not that, you know, this book is bad per se. It's just, it's not hitting as hard. So for right now, it's 4 out of 5 stars. I need to do a haul. I bought some books last week. We're gonna bring those in. We're gonna do a little haul portion. But other than that, that's all I got planned. Oh, I didn't put any. I also need to put sunscreen. I've been skipping the sunscreen, and every time I start walking back into my house, I'm judging myself. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're applying your sunscreen all year round. You know, the sun doesn't go away just because it's no longer summer. So make sure you're wearing it in the fall and the winter. The UV rays are always there, but I'll check in with you guys when I have stuff to check in with you on. I don't know if that'll be a book update. I don't know if that'll be the haul, but I'll check in with you guys when I check in. And I promised you in this clip specifically that I would do a little mini haul because I have things to haul. And this is like the 5th time that I've brought these books to talk about. So if I don't talk about them for very long, that is part of the reason. The other part of the reason is that 3 out of the 4 books I already have videos on, whether it be a standalone review just of that book individually, but I know that there's also ones that were included in like a wrap-up and one that was included in a reading vlog, and so my thoughts and opinions about these things are out there on the internet already. The first of those things, here's the little stack so you can take your guesses, and I can get a clip for the thumbnail. And I can get something for the thumbnail. But the first of those things is the final revival of Oberlin Nev. This was one that was in a reading vlog. I want to say it was in March, might have been not March, I don't know, don't hold me to anything. But I read it, I enjoyed it. I finally own a copy. Next is, I almost wish I got this from Book of the Month because my edition has this ugly ass Read with Jenna sticker. Like, I want to read books with Jenna Bush. But Malibu Rising with Taylor Jenkins Reid, this is one of those that I have a standalone review of. I enjoyed it. Of this sort of like Hugo-verse novels, I don't know what we're calling them, this isn't my favorite. That still goes to Daisy Jones, but I did enjoy this and I own it, so I'm happy with that. Next is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. And then the last book, the only book I haven't read, is The Housewives, the real story behind the Real Housewives by Brian Moylan. I'm not a big Housewives person, but a couple years ago I read Ladies Who Punch by Raman Satuti, and that was about The View, and I enjoyed it, and I figure that The Housewives will be sort of like Ladies Who Punch. I'll get a lovely history, I'll get some iconic moments from the various franchises, and some of the behind-the-scenes moments. I don't know if I said that already, but I figure that could be a fun little thing, so I'm looking forward to that. The Housewives might be what I end the week with. It might be what I'm reading during my Saturday sprints. I have not decided yet, so if that's what happens, that's what happens. Listening to The Queen of Gilded Horns, and I'm a little about the whole thing because the first half of this book was so good. And when I say so good, like, it was just really nice to be back in this world, to have these characters again, to, like, be in the middle of everything. And then the last half of this book, I was like, because there isn't, so, like, there was a lot of new information introduced here
There was a lot of things that had the potential to be explored here. And while I'm happy that, like, it was a different author, I could very much see this being a trilogy setup based on what happened in the first book and what happens here. And so I'm happy that we had a tighter story in that it was a duology. But I feel like the story needed more pages to really breathe. And I almost feel like it would have been better served as one chunky contemporary, like one chunky standalone story, or as a trilogy that might be something that is like annoying because it doesn't have a lot of story there, but there was so much story here that it just needed to be explored, and it was just kind of like, yeah, this is the thing that's happening, and then we would just forget about it for really the rest of the book. Essentially, like, Bacchus' whole storyline that was introduced was unimportant. Mother Esai's whole storyline wound up being rather unimportant. The whole planning and execute, like, the entire third act felt like an outline of the third act, that when I was listening, I was like, okay, but are we going to fill in this skeleton? And the answer to that was no, we're not going to do that. I don't know, like, it makes me so sad because I think that this really had the potential to do something very special and different and unique, and it just kind of fell a little flat for me. Like, I do think that the story still grapples with like imperialism and colonization and forced imprisonment, like all of those themes that the book touches on. I think it explores them really well and does like really interesting things with them and is commendable for what it does do, but it also just leaves a lot on the table, and so that's just really hard for me to ignore. So I do enjoy the series. I'm happy that I have read the series. I do feel a little bad that I got so late to this because, like I said before, Penguin did send me an arc of this. I did read this one from the library, but... So if you made it this far into the video, then congratulations to you. You're amazing. I love you. 10 out of 10. I'm here to wrap this up. So I did technically-ish almost, we're just going to say I finished 3 books this week. And so the third book that I finished, I did not vlog, was my reading of The Housewives, The Real Story Behind the Real Housewives by Brian Moylan. I talked about it in the mini haul. I read it on my sprints on Saturday. So... this book, like I said earlier today, or earlier in this video, I thought it was going to be like Ramen Satuti's Ladies Who Punch, where we'd get the history of the Housewives, which we kind of do. We would get some juicy behind-the-scenes stories, which we kind of don't. And then, like, I don't know, just something like that was extra and some oomph there. And I didn't think it was going to be a 5 out of 5 star read for me because I'm not a Housewives person. But I thought that I would still have a nice time because I do kind of like the business of Hollywood, like how things get made, like that vibe, that aesthetic. And I can see that Brian Moylan really tried to do that. And I will give him credit that I do think that in the book, he talks a lot about how Bravo has these women in a chokehold and how Bravo doesn't really like them doing outside press and how they like to keep everything in this house and how they don't really give out a lot of answers. But at the same time, Brian Moylan starts off the book saying he's going to give us these things that he kind of does, but a lot of the things that he gives us, I think, are kind of the things that he even says in the book that the people know, but we're just looking for some kind of confirmation. And I don't think he really gives confirmation on a lot of the things that he brings up. A lot of the chapters just kind of feel a little aimless, and for a lot of the book I was okay giving it 3 out of 5 stars because I thought, well, it's not the best, infotainment book I've ever read, but it's solid enough that, like, if I was more of a Housewives fan, I might enjoy this more. But for me personally, it was a 3-star book. And then I got towards the later chapters, and there was a chapter dedicated to housewife related Instagram meme accounts and to Etsy shops and to podcasts about the housewives, and all of those were just kind of things that I personally do not care about at all on any level whatsoever. And I didn't really think that it added a lot to the story of the housewives, either the behind the scenes machinations or them coming to be, or even their impact on popular culture. And so I kind of felt that it was just kind of a way to pad out the book, and it dropped it down to a 2-star for me. So while I think that more hardcore housewives fans might still have something that is entertaining on their hands, I do think that ultimately Brian Moyland limits the audience for the book, because he just is going to assume that if you're reading his book, then you've read Andy Cohen's book. And I loathe Andy Cohen, and so I'm not reading Andy Cohen's book. I came to your book about this because I wanted your take on these things, and I don't really think he has a take. He's very middle of the road about it, which is very odd because he starts off the book talking about how he has followed the housewives from their inception on that raggedy first season of Orange County. So for me, it's even more strange because you would think that someone in that position would have a more, like, they would have a stance, and it feels very objective in a very boring way. In the writing, he attempts jokes a couple of times, but it's really flat. I wouldn't say it's anything to write home about whatsoever on any level. So for me, like I said, 2 out of 5 stars. And then just to sort of rehash the rest of this reading vlog before we sign off, A Queen of Gilded Horns was 2 out of 5 for a lot of the same reasons as the Housewives. It was just a general letdown, but to keep things positive, we did start off the week with a 5-star The Bad Muslim discount, which I still really enjoy. Still, even looking back on it, I had a really good time reading that one. I had an excellent reading experience. I do recommend the audiobook. So if you are going to check it out, the audio is a decent way to go. But I need to go so I can actually finish editing this vlog. This is the last clip that I needed to insert because the 2 clips I filmed for this outro before didn't work. So that was this week. I'll see you guys again next week, hopefully with another reading vlog. But if you made it to the end of this one, make sure you drop this emoji down in the comment section, and I'll see you guys again soon. But until then, and until next time, bye.